What's going on, Chief Architect people? I just ran into a comment I saw and I wanted to show you how can we make a custom sill that part of that is the threshold for a door and part of it's going to be a Rowlock brick, okay? How can we do that? That'd be pretty clever, right? And so let's see if we can come up with this. I have not practiced this. I'm just using my knowledge of Chief Architect to hopefully work this out. We'll see how I do. I already have a custom brick wall type that I like to use. It's got kind of a 3D brick look to it. So I'm going to start with that. Let me go ahead and get a door in here so we just get an idea of what a sill is even looking like. So I'm going to do a back clipped cross section to look through this and we'll see. We'll just have a little idea of what the sill looks like on this bad boy. Now, right now, it's just showing a flat sill. And do we have the ability to use some kind of custom sill? Yes, we do. Let's choose an exterior sill. Okay, and so this is what it shows up as. And so if we choose threshold, threshold ends up building underneath the door. And there's no custom threshold setup that we can do. And exterior depth set to 1/4 inch. Let's see what happens when we change some dimension of this, right? So it pushes this out right here. It just pushes a flat stock out. And we can't then specify a sill separate from that, right? And so we can specify a sill where it has an apron. Not sure that that's super helpful. Here's where the custom aspect of this happens is maybe we can get really wild with this thing and specify something that is using what's called a 3D molding. Now, when I specify use interior sill, this is what happens. And we don't seem to have any offset. All we have is extend. But a 3D molding can have an offset in it, but it gets really crazy once you start messing with that. So I'm not sure how well this is going to work out. We're going to try something. So leaving these specifications in place, we can see where these show up here. And so I'm going to build off of this. What I have shown here, that's what I'm going to build off of. And I'm going to basically create two molding profiles at once and then join them together as one molding profile. Just stick with me here. I'm just working through ideas in my head, okay? Now, this is a lot of confusing lines. You know, I probably could have turned off my foundation walls to make it just really clear where those are showing up and hopefully just make this be a little bit easier to look through. So there we go. I'm going to turn off that foundation wall. That's going to get rid of that. This is just basically a remnant of the wall, or actually it seems to be part of the door assembly when I click it. That's okay. So this is about as limiting as I'm going to get in terms of all these CAD lines, right? And so I want to draw in here, and maybe I'll just start with a polyline. And the reason I want to start with a polyline is I'm going to make it really easy to see this. It's going to help me. So I'm going to do just an angle hatch on this. 1 inch spacing. Let's go 1/4 inch spacing. This just makes it really easy to see my CAD profile, okay? And so I want to build something that actually looks like a threshold. So this is going to, and so I'm going to raise this door up, in fact. Let me see if I can't select this door from selecting the line here. It looks like I can. And what I mean by raise this door up is we got this setting recently, bottom offset. So let's make this a 3/4 inch offset, okay? And so that raised the door up. I'm going to make a break in my polyline here. Oops. Just drive that down like that. That's looking pretty good. And then my exterior surface of this brick wall assembly is what? There. So here's my brick. That's where my brick starts. So that's where I'm going to overlap my threshold a bit on top of my brick. You know what? I don't know true spec on this, so you old heads that really know what you're doing with these brick thresholds, let me just, this is basically a detail that immediately popped up, right? Is we've got a threshold and then an apron down, and then we're mortaring this in, or maybe grouting this in, right, at some kind of pitch, probably like a 22-degree pitch or something. Okay, I'm not far off on my thinking here. That's good. And since we're faking the look of this, we basically have to cheat a little bit because this right here is the top of my brick. Okay, so that's how I'm gonna have to build that profile. Yeah, that's the top of my brick. So I should have made a copy of that polyline when it had its fill from the get-go. That would have been a lot easier. Of course, we can use the fill eyedropper tool. Just do that. That's pretty easy, actually. My brick, we're gonna call this 3.5, and then I'll work out where this is gonna head in. But that's actually not looking too bad. There. And so maybe that's it right there. So what am I going to do with these two? I'm going to take these two. I know you're probably having trouble seeing it the way I'm looking at this. That's okay. This is the edge of my brick. The highest I can go is about there. That's fine. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a little break in this and bring this down. Let's look as close to accurate as possible. I'll take these two. I'm going to convert these. They're polylines right now. Let's convert them to 3D solids. And this is part of making a 3D molding. And so the depth of this is just going to be the depth of the door. We'll just make these 36, and then we'll center them on the door. And let's just pull a little camera view here to see what we got going on. And so I want to take my brick texture, and I'm probably going to make a copy of it, which is this button right here, copy selected material. Okay. And this is, I have a couple different brick textures in here. This one has a fake look of displacement. So instead, let me just get into the material painter and see if I can't find brick in my plan. Because there's one that's just brick, and then there's one that's displacement brick. There we go. That's what I want. So I'm going to paint this solid just like that, and we're going to rotate it. So adjust material definition, rotate this bad boy 90 degrees. Okay, we want that Rowlock look. There we go. That's what we're looking for. I'm going to take this and paint it the trim color. Okay, and now I'll take both of these and center them up. Now something pops out immediately is that my threshold here wasn't pushing far enough in. It's not covering the flooring, and we need it to. So first of all, let me get rid of the existing sill, so that's not fighting us. Use interior sill, use exterior sill, bam. I'll get rid of that, and then now we can come back to this cross-section elevation and see if we can't get an idea of the solid in here. Yeah. We need to move this forward so it covers the floor. That's the biggest problem. For some reason, this is not going to let me push this forward. Probably because of that angle at the end. Might need to conform this angle just to get this to stop fighting me. Or not. Or not. Maybe I'll bring this whole thing forward. Something's going on with this polyline. So in that case, let's just convert it back to a regular plane polyline. It'll let me manipulate it again. So there we go. We're just covering the floor, and then we're kicking down. That's fine. And let's convert this again. 3D solid. Make that 36 again. Come back to our view here. There we go. It's covering everything it needs to cover, I think. Okay. So there we go. We've got this set up, and this, I'm going to make this kick out a little bit. Extend it. something like that. And let's see what we can do about making this be a 3D molding. So I have both of these selected. Here's what really, really matters with 3D moldings is I needed to draw this on plan south. If you drew it on plan left or right, you're going to have some serious problems converting this to 3D molding. I just know this. I know that this is a challenge in Chief. Chief is very particular about how you create these 3D moldings and getting them to work the way you need them to. So we might have to do a little guess and check, try this a couple times. So I go designate this as a molding. This is going to be my custom Sill profile. And you want to show advanced options and let's see what happens. All right, we can see already the problem here. It's getting repeated, but the axis is incorrect. It's rotated incorrectly. You can try to rotate it in this view and maybe it works, but oftentimes it does not. And so here's the other problem. I can't have an offset in the brick separate from that threshold. It just doesn't work. So you're getting both at the same time no matter what. So even though I extended this, and what did I extend it to? 45 inches. Let's just make it 45. Let's center it up on the door. We need this to be 45 as well. Center it up. So then the next thing that we know is maybe it would have been beneficial to put this on one of these other walls. That's funny. I'm not getting a. Oh, I had this cross section highlighted, so I wasn't able to copy paste this reflect about. Let me try that. There we go. Copy paste reflect about. I'm going to try it from this side now. Okay. Have both of those selected. Should be anyways. Yeah. Convert to molding. Show advanced options. See if this time it repeated the correct way. No, it did not. So it doesn't seem to matter that I had it on this side versus the other side. Very interesting. I don't know that I have a solve for that. So no matter what, we might have to rotate. Here might be the fix. Here's what I've run into before. And the reason I'm doing this and the reason I'm telling this is because I know that I've run into problems with 3D moldings if we don't get it oriented the correct way the first time. And so instead, I'm going to convert this to a fixture. I'm not going to add it to the library. I don't need to show advanced options. And I'm going to just place this in plan like so. And so now I can take this and convert it to a molding, but I can rotate it in the correct direction first. I'm going to test this once. So let me just show advanced options and see what happens. All right, so that's the incorrect orientation. So let me take this, and now that it's a fixture, it's just one unit. It's really easy to rotate this and guess and check. Now rotating it that way didn't make the difference. Very interesting. This selected the symbol molding, show advanced options. Yeah, no matter what, it seems to be orienting it the way it wants to, and that might just have to do with the length of it. I'm not sure. So it looks like, in fact, they do have to rotate this in the 3D menu. So let's rotate this on the Z-axis. There we go. So it's going to repeat, and this is what the profile looks like. Okay. If we show this, if we see this little icon at the top of the screen, standard view. That's what it's going to look like. Pretty cool. Here's the next trick with this is we want to do some advanced sizing. So if we show the bounding box here, this is what Chief sees this molding profile as. What do we want to do? Well, we want to trick Chief into seeing this in a very different way. Okay. We want it to only see this and I should have taken some control measurements, but I'm just going to do some guesses and checks. I'm in the advanced sizing panel, and in here, we need to specifically uncheck this. And you'll notice when I do, it automatically checks bounding box spacing. Chief sees this object according to the bounding box, not according to the geometry of the mesh that we just created, okay? So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to specify that this thing is only as tall as the profile of this kind of upper section of the sill here. So I'm going to just specify height. I can either specify height and it will update bounding box spacing, or I can update bounding box spacing. In this case, I find it to be easier to update the height here, just to get an idea of what the height should be. So if I say 7/8, here's what ends up happening. Now notice the bounding box has done, all it did was put a negative in the top section here. In fact, I kind of want this negative to be in the bottom section. We put 0 here. And there we go. That's what I want, okay? And so it's going to be a little bit more negative than that. Let's go negative 4.75. Go negative 4. I'm just going to do some guessing checks. There we go. So now Chief sees this molding as that size, but it will still push the geometry from this object, this molding profile in this case. That means the threshold will be specified as, look at this height, 5/8. Okay, that's what Chief will see this as. The next part is we know that this whole profile gets pushed out from the outside of the door jamb, I believe, the door jamb. So we need Chief to see this as a bounding box that's basically, let me see if I can't draw on here real quick. Basically right here. We need Chief to see this as an object that is that size right in that location, okay? So I'm gonna have to do some front and back bounding box spacing. Why do I know it's front and back? Because if we look at this, here's the positive Y leg. That is back. I believe that's back, yes. So I need a negative spacing here. Let's just call it negative 7 inches. That's getting pretty close. And then in the front, same thing. I need something like negative 2. There we go. Now Chief is seeing this object as that right there. That's how it's going to place it. So our door is roughly, if I'm thinking about this right, is roughly right here. Something like that, right? There's our door, blah, blah, blah. And then the existing jamb is right here. And then this is where this is going to get pushed in. I think. I've never tried this before. We're just going based on what we know. Okay. Let's say okay. Now, something I want to do is I'm going to screenshot my settings, because if I need to redo this, I do feel like I've had experience where retroactively changing the molding from the library causes problems. I also don't think I clicked on add to the library, which would have been dumb. But no, I did. I added to the library. Now we get to come into this door. Let's just make a copy of this door, slide it over. Now we get to come into this door and say that we've got an exterior sill. And since this is a molding, I should be able to select my new 3D molding. Yes, and you see I'm getting a toggle replacement mode when I hover over this. Let's see what craziness this builds. Well, it didn't do anything. Now this is kind of common, is there might be some other classification of millwork in this symbol, because I don't think this generated anything. Yes, and when there's some other classification of millwork in a particular symbol, even though the toggle replacement mode is there, it might be replacing something that takes precedence. We'd have to go dig through all the menus to see what that is, but it clearly did not replace that exterior sill. If we go look through all the menus, maybe it replaced something else. Who freaking knows? You can kind of maybe track it down from the materials here and see if anything's called brick. It's not. So toggle replacement mode for millwork's not working here. So we need to just come into sill threshold, click on library, and find that brand new shiny weird molding I created. And so let's look at this. What did it do? Okay. This is pointing to the next problem that I had in this, and that's okay. This is fine. Is it's seeing it as the right size, but let's go back into this molding profile. What I didn't do, what I forgot to do is the placement origin is right here, is right where this gizmo is. So we needed to, not only did we need to offset to create the size of our molding, but we need to do an offset in the 3D panel to get this lined up so that our origin point is right here. Okay. All right. With that in mind, we pretty much, I think, get to just say, okay, 7 and 4.5. Come back to the 3D menu. You know, this is the positive Y leg, right? So we need to move positively 7 inches, and we need to move the Z in negative 4.5. So that's in a negative. There we go. So now that origin is right where I want it to be. Let me press OK. I'll see if I can toggle replacement mode. Does not look like we can. That's fine. Oh, I clicked on it and it did it. Okay. My origin's still a little off. Interesting. And let's just do some guess and check. Let's just go -2 here. We're going to bump that up again. I think I just get the click. There we go. Now it's strange the side of this is producing some white fill. So what that would tell you is Chief has something built in that if you do have a threshold like this, it's going to, I guess, extend the jam material. What would happen if we just turned off the jam material to just test this? So if we said it has no jam, it still is extending some white there. You could probably understand what that white is if we tried to paint it. So if we try to paint it, what does it do? What did that affect? Anything? Nothing really. That's actually beneficial to, oh, it painted the Sill profile. How interesting. Okay, with that in mind, we might be able to make an improvement here. I'm not entirely sure. We might be able to just put our own flat section here on the side. I'm not sure. Let's see what this profile did. And not only that, but I think the Y offset's a little off. Let's give it a little go, another little go here. So that Y position, let's take 2 inches off of it. Click on here again. Oh, it needed to go the other way. Put 2 inches on it. So interesting that this filled this like that. Okay. Boy, that's looking pretty close. And wouldn't it be nice if you could just save that as your default, right? Yeah, that's pretty close. Now I want to take a look at this molding again. Just one more look at this, try to understand why it's just automatically filling in that section with white. That's so curious to me. So a potential solve of this, if I can get back to all the same settings somehow, is let me take this profile and I'm going to explode it. And I'm going to just kind of cheat. Because this is a solid, we can explode the 3D solid. And from here, I'm going to paint just the side of this brick texture. Oops, I missed it. Because now this is a face that can be painted, okay? So the side of this can be painted. Yeah, side of that can be. Okay, with that in mind, and this, we're just doing a guess and check here now. And I convert this to a molding, show advanced options, sure. And let's rotate it. See what happened when we exploded? These faces are referencing, what they're doing is they're referencing a floor. Part of this profile's above a floor, part of it's not. So that was the issue, but you know what? That's okay. I'm just gonna keep this the way this is. Because all we're doing is testing materials here. So let's click that in just to see where's that brick show up. Does it show up at all? Boy, it doesn't at all. But in there somewhere. Let's do the offset. Let's get that all set up. Let's go 7, sure. The wrong way. Go the other way. Negative. I didn't do all that bounding box spacing stuff, so that's why these numbers are going to be different now. There we go. That is just not showing the brick period, probably because it's down here. Aha. But notice it did in fact paint the side of this as brick. So exploding it is the solve. So that's it. And you guys don't need to watch me do that, but this is it. We're done with this. Let me just do a little auto build foundation so we can see what this is looking like. See that, and throw a little ray trace on there. Get a better idea. Isn't that cool? You know, and you can use the new tool for interactive material editor, obviously, and then be able to drag this up to get this, you know, exactly the way you want it. Maybe you want to scale it, right? Maybe you want to scale it in one direction. I believe is this guy. Yeah, there we go. And now we're really looking like a Rowlock setup, and you can move this left to right. How cool is that? Custom threshold. Look at that. It even kicks on the door. So we could get a shaped threshold with this method. Pretty clever. It looked as if you might be able to get a shaped. Let me just do this real quick. I want to try a more complex sill profile. Something like this. Why not? What happens? How does this build out? Yeah, so if you put in a custom offset in some of these sills, let's do this threshold, for instance. It's just building off of this, right? But if I made a copy of this, go in folder, just make a duplicate, open this object up. We see that the molding height is 3/4 molding width, etc. Yeah, so there's no offsetting in a CAD molding, but if you get a 3D molding, you can make any profile of threshold work. We can get some pretty advanced looking thresholds. Okay. You might even be able to find on the World Wide Web for threshold profile something like this, right? Drawings like this, or drawings similar to this. Let me go back a little bit. Let's go images. Yeah, where you're just picking up and tracing something, you know, similar to these. This is what I was looking for right there. Yeah, we can make this as a 3D threshold and get this to be set up correctly and look correct. Pretty wild using that 3D molding. This is the kind of video that I put in my membership area. I'm starting to let a couple of these get out of the membership area so the broader public can see these. But I really encourage you to go check some of this stuff out because I got deep into this program. We're doing stuff where if you're in a region where you need some of these details, you set it up one time. Yeah, this video is 30 minutes long, sure, but this is something that's going to be used over and over and over again. This is for one of my members, by the way. This was not a request. I just saw that they were doing something a very manual way, and they will no longer have to do this in a manual way, which is going to save them about 10 minutes per door per project for years and years to come. That makes this video invaluable to them. It's saving them hundreds of dollars. And so this is the kind of stuff that I put in the members area. So if you're curious about that, I'm going to start plugging this in my free videos because I put some really high level content there that'll save you money. So go check it out. You buy 1 month's worth, you get access to hundreds of hours of videos. Cancel the subscription, come back when you need some more. Cool. Anyways, take care. Thank you.